can speak English fluently in your head, but when you open your mouth, you can't speak the same way? There's actually a scientific reason for this, and that's what you're going to learn in today's video. I also want to share with you a brutal truth. Your mouth has literally never produced the sounds your brain is thinking of. And that's because in English, we have certain sounds that practically don't exist in any other language. So watch until the end of today's video, because I'm going to share with you 4 of these difficult sounds and how you can move your mouth and position your muscles and your tongue to actually pronounce them correctly. Now, let's start by talking about why your English sounds different when it comes out of your mouth than it does in your head. And the reason for this is twofold. Firstly, we hear things differently in our head than they actually sound in reality. And it's the same phenomenon as when you record yourself speaking and then you listen to the recording, or you see yourself on video and it feels weird, it feels awkward because it's not how you actually envisioned it. And honestly, I experienced this when I first started making YouTube videos, where I would speak to the camera, I would imagine my voice sounded a certain way, and then I'd watch the recording, I'd watch the video back, and I'd listen to my voice, and suddenly it sounded a lot more different than what I expected. And when you first start out, when you first realize this, you feel self-conscious, you feel a bit embarrassed by your own voice, because it's not the same voice you've heard in your head or when you even open your mouth and speak. So the first step here is to realize that this is completely normal, and your voice sounds different to you than it does to other people. Now, the second reason that you can't pronounce words like you hear them is actually due to the position of your mouth and the position of your muscles, your jaw, and your tongue. You see, every language has a different way of moving the mouth and moving the muscles, and that has a direct impact on how the language sounds and how a native speaker of a language sounds when speaking that language, because that's how they grow up, that's how they're used to speaking. And then when they speak a second language, they take that mouth formation that they're used to and they bring it to the second language, which creates differences in pronunciation. And I know this as well because I learned German, I learned Italian, I also learned French. In those languages, there are different ways of moving the mouth. There are different ways of positioning the tongue and the lips. If you look at Americans, especially Canadians as well, and to a lesser extent, speakers of British English, you'll notice that they move their mouth a lot. They're more animated than, for example, somebody who speaks Russian or somebody who speaks Mandarin or somebody who speaks most other languages. You can actually make a game out of this. If you're watching a documentary or a video or a movie on YouTube or Netflix, you can actually mute the audio and you can look at how the speaker is moving their mouth and you can try to guess what language they're speaking just by looking at how they're moving their mouth. And I'm willing to bet if you compare the way you move your mouth when you speak English with the way I move my mouth when I speak English, you will notice significant differences. And I know this from experience working with my students. It's very common for students to keep their mouth closed. But if you look at the way I speak, or you look at the way a lot of other Canadians or Americans speak, we tend to open our mouths a bit more and we're a bit more animated. Obviously, this affects the way the sound comes out of our mouth and how we can produce these different sounds in English. This is why we have different accents, because we're actually moving the mouth in a different way. Now, what does this mean for you? If you want to speak English, let's say more like an American or more like a Canadian or more like a British speaker, then what you can do is you can try to emulate the position of the mouth when pronouncing certain vowels and certain clusters. Now, I'm going to look at 4 common sounds that exist in English but don't exist in most other languages. And I'm also going to show you exactly how you can position your tongue and position your mouth so you can learn how to pronounce these words correctly. Now, the first on our list is the sound. This is very difficult to pronounce because, again, this is not a sound that is present in many languages. Now, there are a couple ways of pronouncing this sound, but generally you'll find this in words like think and this. And the key here is to put your tongue between your teeth. Th. Look at this diagram here. Th. Think, this, thought, though, through. You can see for all of these, my tongue is between my teeth, and that's how I get that sound. The air is moving out of my mouth as my tongue is placed between my teeth. Th. Now, it's very common for students to replace this sound with the S, the Z, the T, or the D sound, but of course this is incorrect. Although I will also say that when children are learning English, they often find this sound difficult too. It's very common for children to say things like, I think, instead of I think. So you're not alone, and it has nothing to do with how good you are at English or how talented you are at languages. It simply has to do with how you position your mouth and your tongue. So keep your tongue between your teeth. Th. Now, the next sound on our list is the erotic R sound. And this is very common in American English, less common in British English, but very common in American English. Now, in many languages, the R is rolled, like R, but this sound does not exist in English. Instead, especially in American English, as I mentioned, the R sound involves curving the tongue upwards to hit the roof of the mouth. Look at this diagram here. R, R, in the words wrong, run. You need to curve your tongue backwards. Pause the video and practice that for a moment. Again, I should say that the tongue doesn't quite touch the roof of the mouth. It's curved backwards, but it doesn't exactly touch the roof. So look at the diagram, try to imitate the position of the tongue in that diagram, curve it back, don't touch the roof of the mouth, but try to create that curve as much as possible. Now, the next sound on our list is the dark L sound. You'll hear this in words like full or ball. Again, look at the diagram here and repeat after me. Full, ball. You really have to try to produce the O sound. O. This doesn't exist in most other languages. It's something that's mostly exclusive to English. O. And last but not least, we actually have the most common vowel sound in the English language, which, believe it or not, doesn't exist in many other languages. And that's something called the schwa sound. The schwa sound is pronounced a bit like banana, banana, today. And to pronounce this sound, you almost have to open the mouth in a round manner. Tomorrow, today. And again, it can help to speak slowly at first and then gradually build up speed. And eventually you'll be able to pronounce the words more quickly and more naturally. So those were 4 sounds that are very difficult to pronounce in English simply because they probably don't exist in your own language. Th, ol, and If you find these words difficult as well, let me know in the comments. Let me know if there are other sounds in your own language that maybe don't exist in English. I'm really curious to know. I think this is a very interesting topic, and it's always great to learn more about different languages and how they're pronounced. Now, I want to give you one final strategy to improve your pronunciation using everything we've learned today. I always recommend recording your voice, because not only does that give you a chance to hear how you're pronouncing the words and to reflect on them and to listen to them in the same way somebody else would, it also gives you a chance to get used to the fact that people hear your voice differently than you hear it. And that's completely normal. There's actually no avoiding that. That's incredibly universal. And again, it's something I faced when I first started recording videos on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. The way my voice sounded was not the same as the way I heard it. And the moment you realize that, the moment you start listening to your voice and overcoming that initial confusion, that initial embarrassment, you'll start feeling a lot more secure and a lot more confident about the way you speak. So those are my recommendations for you today. Feel free to go back and watch this video as many times as you need, specifically those 4 sounds, the R and the O and the sounds. If you'd like to improve your English with me and my team, click the link below to apply. We have several programs that are by application only. So if we think you're a good fit, we'll reach out to you and send you more information. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and let me know in the comments. Are there any sounds that are difficult for you in English? Are there any sounds that don't exist in your own language that exist in English? Let me know in the comments. As I mentioned, I'm always interested and eager to learn more about different languages, so I would really appreciate it. Thank you for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video.